As Donald Trump continues to name his cabinet, which includes a few left-field choices, we thought we should look into how much power cabinet members really yield. Consisting of the heads of federal departments and key advisors, cabinet members are integral to shaping policies, enforcing laws, and managing vast government machinery. But how much power do they really have? Let's unpack the scope, limitations, and nuances of their authority. At its core, the U.S. Cabinet is an advisory body to the president. It includes the vice president and the heads of 15 executive departments, such as defense, state, treasury, and education. These officials are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate, giving them a mandate to oversee their respective departments and implement the administration's agenda. The scope of cabinet power. Cabinet members are responsible for managing massive bureaucracies. For example, the Department of Defense oversees over 2.8 million personnel, while the Department of Health and Human Services manages programs like Medicare and Medicaid that touch the lives of millions of Americans. Their decisions influence everything from military strategy to public health policies to educational standards. Within their departments, cabinet members hold significant autonomy. They can issue regulations, allocate budgets, and set priorities that affect industries, state governments, and individuals. For instance, the Secretary of the Treasury plays a key role in managing the federal budget and implementing economic sanctions, while the Secretary of State shapes foreign policy and represents the U.S. on the global stage. Cabinet members also serve as the primary link between the president and their respective departments, ensuring that the administration's policies are effectively executed. They participate in crafting policies and can advocate for specific initiatives within the administration, often acting as the president's closest advisors on specialized issues. Examples of cabinet power in action. History offers many examples of cabinet members exerting significant influence. During the financial crisis of 2008, Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson led efforts to stabilize the economy, working with Congress to pass the Troubled Asset Relief Program, TARP. Similarly, Secretary of State George Marshall, under President Truman, was instrumental in shaping the Marshall Plan, which rebuilt Europe after World War II. More recently, Secretary of Health and Human Services Xavier Becerra played a critical role in managing the federal government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, influencing vaccine distribution and public health guidelines. Meanwhile, Secretaries of Defense like Donald Rumsfeld and Robert Gates shaped military strategy during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Limits to cabinet power. Despite their influence, cabinet members operate under significant constraints. Their authority is ultimately derived from the president, and they are expected to carry out the administration's agenda. If they diverge too far from the president's vision, they risk being replaced. High-profile dismissals, such as that of Secretary of State Rex Tillerson under Donald Trump, illustrate the precarious nature of their positions. Additionally, cabinet members must navigate a web of oversight and accountability. Congress plays a key role in scrutinizing their actions through hearings, investigations, and budget approvals. For example, when controversial policies arise, like Betsy DeVos's push for school choice as Secretary of Education, cabinet members often face intense questioning from legislators. The judiciary also serves as a check on cabinet power. Policies implemented by departments can be challenged in court, and federal judges have the authority to block regulations they deem unlawful. This was evident when immigration policies under the Trump administration, such as the travel ban, faced legal challenges that delayed or altered their implementation. Informal constraints, bureaucracy, and public opinion. Cabinet members also contend with the inertia of the federal bureaucracy. Career civil servants, who often outlast any given administration, may resist drastic changes or reinterpretations of agency missions. This resistance can slow down or dilute the implementation of policies. Public opinion is another powerful force. Policies that generate significant public backlash can pressure cabinet members to revise or abandon their initiatives. For instance, environmental regulations proposed by the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, have often faced resistance from industries, activists, and state governments, forcing compromises. How cabinet power depends on the president. The degree of power a cabinet member wields often depends on the leadership style of the president. Some presidents, like Franklin D. Roosevelt and Barack Obama, actively involved their cabinet in decision-making and valued their expertise. Others, such as Richard Nixon and Donald Trump, relied more heavily on close advisors outside the cabinet, sidelining traditional department heads. Presidents also delegate authority differently. For instance, during the Gulf War, President George H.W. Bush gave considerable autonomy to Secretary of State James Baker and Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney to manage diplomatic and military operations. Conversely, some presidents centralized control within the White House, limiting cabinet members' influence. Cabinet members and the balance of power. While cabinet members have substantial authority within their domains, they are part of a system designed to prevent any one individual or group from wielding unchecked power. Their decisions are subject to oversight by Congress, judicial review, and the president's directives. Moreover, their influence is shaped by their ability to navigate complex political, bureaucratic, and public landscapes. To summarize, cabinet members hold significant power, shaping policies that impact millions of lives and guiding the operations of the federal government. However, their influence is not absolute. They operate within a system of checks and balances, subject to the president's vision, congressional oversight, judicial review, and public opinion. Ultimately, the power of cabinet members reflects the delicate balance between autonomy and accountability that defines the American government.